Hello, today I'm going to talk a little bit about Edwardian fashion and a Edwardian dress that I recently bought. Now, there's different opinions on vintage and antique clothing and whether or not we should wear it, whether or not we should store it up and make sure it stays out of sunlight in the right temperatures and all that in order to preserve it and have it ready for the next generation of fashion historians who may want to study extant garments. I think this is true to a certain extent. I think antique clothing and historical fashion in general should be preserved so that people in the future can see how much there is to it and see just how beautiful these things are. But I also think that certain pieces can be worn, maybe even should be worn. It certainly is a testament to the craftsmanship if you can wear it even after 100 years, and that's exactly what this dress is a testament to the amazing craftsmanship of Edwardian and Victorian sewers. It's really amazing to look at. Now, I also am being very careful with it. I certainly won't wear it more than once or twice, 3, 4, maybe even 5 times, but you get the point. I'm going to limit how much I wear it, and I'm going to store it very, very carefully, take photos, videos, try and document it the best I can. So here's a little bit of that documentation for you. I took a couple of videos, some up-close things of it, just to show you just how beautiful this dress is. Upon looking at the dress, you can see that's a little bit see-through. This is common for that type of dress, don't worry. It is what would be called a tea dress or a lawn dress. These were worn to tea, though they have certainly a very long and interesting history to them, which I won't go through right now. But basically, they evolved from sort of like a bathrobe style dress that you would wear when you're in your house just to lounge around, to what we know as kind of like a more formal piece of clothing that you would wear to, you guessed it, tea, and quite often outdoors, as it was an amazing thing to wear in the spring and summer because of how light it was. These dresses are characterized by their white or off-white color, and they feature plenty of lace and plenty of ruffles, especially if you go a little bit further back into the Edwardian era. Now, my dress in particular, while I'm not sure exactly when it's from, I would guess that it's from the very late 1900s or the very early 1910s. I am not officially a dress historian, so this could absolutely be wrong, but that's just my best guess at it. Now, wearing this dress, it's a little bit small for me in a couple of ways. It doesn't fully buckle at the back with its hook and eye closures, and the length is slightly shorter than maybe an Edwardian lady would wear. However, I can get away with this, and it's not historically inaccurate due to my age, especially with my lack of proper undergarments for this dress. No, I am not willing to painstakingly try and struggle through making an Edwardian corset, partly because I'm realistically not quite old enough to be wearing one. Edwardian ladies didn't really start wearing corsets until 17, and even that was a bit of a stretch, so I think I'm okay with that one for now, especially since I feel like I could probably pass for like 16, potentially. I don't know. Anyway, while the fit, the length, and my undergarments aren't exactly historically correct, the reason that it does look incredibly Edwardian is partly due to the actual Edwardian dress, but also due to what I'm wearing with it. You see, Edwardians had several accessories that were absolutely vital to that classic Edwardian look. The hat, for starters, is a little plain, the one that I'm wearing for Edwardian standards, as hats were very important fashion items really up until the mid-20th century, when they started to be a little bit less pertinent to certain fashion trends and all this other kind of stuff. But hats were very, very elaborate in the Edwardian era and incredibly important. The next thing is my parasol that I have. The parasol is such a quintessential Edwardian item, and it's probably what you think of when you think of an Edwardian accessory, used to keep the sun off of you and just generally as a decorative piece. Gloves, again, very important. I don't know why some of these items aren't as important in fashion as they were back then, but alas, I'll deal with it. At least I can wear it anyway. The gloves that I'm wearing are a little lace sort of mesh material, very, very Edwardian. I also don't know when these are from, however, I know that they're vintage. The little parasol was not vintage, that was bought new. The hat is vintage, I, again, just don't know from when. The shoes that I'm wearing have a specific type of heel on them. I would have liked them to be a different color for this particular outfit, but I'll take what I can get. The heels of Victorian and Edwardian shoes tended to curve inwards more towards your heel, which actually gives you a lot better support and is, realistically speaking, how we should be making heels so that it's not so damaging to one's health and bone structure. The next thing and the last thing, and probably my favorite out of all the accessories that I have, is this little beaded purse. Now, these were incredibly popular in the Victorian and Edwardian eras. Again, I know this is vintage, I just don't know when it's from particularly. The previous owner of it actually wrote her initials in the inside of the purse on the beautiful satiny inside layer, and it's just gorgeous to look at. Now that we've gotten through all of the outfit details, I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer to take an extra special look at some of the details of the dress itself. You can see all of this beautiful, delicate, fine lace, and all of the tulle and all of the ruffles and stuff. Placed in the sunlight like this, the dress almost looks like mist or smoke, and it's probably one of the prettiest garments I've ever seen in my life. Though I am biased, as this is my first antique dress, and I honestly couldn't be happier, even with the minor fit issues. I also got it for an incredibly reasonable price at $50. Typically, extant garments in this condition from the Edwardian era are upwards of $100 at minimum, so I was very, very lucky to find this, and very, very pleased about it. You can also see all of the teeny tiny little gathers and all of the hand stitching work. Actually, most of this dress appears to be hand-stitched, which it potentially explains the fact that there is in fact a raw edge in the dress, which is something you don't see very often in Edwardian or Victorian fashion, as they were super nitpicky about how their clothing was made and about finishing all those little teeny tiny seams. Perhaps the person who made this was in a bit of a rush, or she wanted to wear it to a specific occasion and then just never ended up finishing it. That's certainly something I can relate to in my own sewing, is not finishing seams. To me, that just makes this garment even more special, the fact that there's a little bit of character to it, and potentially this person was not so unlike myself. At least in one way, that is. Anyway, I had so much fun looking at this dress, and I will certainly continue to document little pieces of it as I go through it and find even more small details. I hope you enjoyed looking at it as much as I did, and that you have a lovely day.